pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You guys have payroll and vendor checks,
Yes.
meeting minutes.
Reviewed and sign off.
Timber tax,
I think you missed the sign.
You missed the second page.
I'll just say that.
I think it's that.
Yep.
that's signed off on the septic. This wasn't on the agenda,
No,
but that's signed off.
it just came in. Yeah,
Okay.
it's for the liens.
Okay.
For like a bridge or something, or?
No, it's one of the properties. I'm not sure. Yeah,
Yeah, they do. They got, actually, they got a copy.
yeah.
Can you do more detail? This is a septic approval, just a signature from us on that.
And I stamped it because it didn't cover the approval sheet.
Right.
Oh, there's a, okay, I had not signed that, but I
Oh, you just got your big.
Yeah, we just need.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
Alright.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the, what you said, the church.
Oh, left side.
Yes,
The church.
on the left side of the church. And they're gonna put it down towards the river.
That's what I'm worried about. You said it on top.
No, they're bringing it out, there's a field that drops off.
What's there's some kind of distance from a waterway like that?
75.
75 feet.
Well, or
The timber tax on King, is that
that's what you just like. It's like,
like this? I got it, just Josh, I got to talk to Josh.
yeah.
Just, make sure. And then, septic approval is done.
Did all three of you sign
Over.
Alright.
Yeah, we're good to go.
Town forest application for lieu of taxes. Okay, as far as, the select boards, they're fairly quiet, our committees are all moving along. As far as the roads, broadband, and there'll be reports on that, later in the meeting. I gotta go get Chief. This is
it?
what-
Chief Jennings will,
Okay.
they have his report, so
Okay.
I can read that.
You know what, if you can, what, how about you get Chief, and I'll read that report.
All three, right?
And you're gonna.
You-
Oh,
I think Dave's going
Say again?
He's David's going to get the job.
Okay, this is, the, chief, fire chief's report. Jeff will not be able to make tonight's meeting, had some quick highlights for fire department activity. Calls for service, we were called to a smoke in the building on East Side Road, where we had 3 engines on scene, with 10 firefighters. We responded within 6 minutes to towing the apparatus. The smoke was due to a person trying to burn fumes in the wood stove with a partially blocked chimney. We removed the smoldering debris, dried it down, and cleared the chimney. As far as training, they filled the swimming pool as part of training, utilizing portable pump operations with a small stream in relay to an engine, enabling the shuttle truck fills at the water source. Then shuttle the water pump to the pool and remove approximately 6,000 gallons of water in a short period of time. That's a lot of volume of water. Greenies, these new people in the fire department doing a fantastic job utilizing what they have and are learning. It shows on each call the confidence and efficiency of what needs to be done is now becoming more automatic. That's good. That happens in training. As far as the racetrack duties, they're continuing. They all seem to be going well. I've listened. I can get the racetrack up at our farmhouse, and they're running till about 6, and then it shuts down. So, I mean, they had complaints early on about the noise at night and stuff. But let's see,
no, just that one, and I think they were complaining about Sunday.
the Sunday it wasn't a racetrack, it was the people.
Right, so they weren't really complaining about the noise, they didn't know where the noise was coming from. We were telling that, and,
Yeah, probably
He's had some fire permits, both campfires and brush. Got a couple of illegal burns that are giving verbal warnings on. And that's the fire report. Did you let Chief know?
Needs a few weeks.
Okay. Did Paul give you a written report? Okay. As far as, what they've been doing is they've been doing some finish, the heavy rains. It had some washouts, but not many. the crown roads that have been, that I drove in this last rain, as long as the roads were crowned, they did well. We kept the roller for an extra week, for keeping use on the road, so we can compact that, and that's been crowned during this. So I think we're in good shape on those things. The truck construction is coming along, I think it's all the, getting the stuff added to it, but, you know,
It's Penco, right?
Yes.
Penco,
Right.
so
I was trying to think of
it's a
it.
bear kind of truck.
Yeah,
It's the chassis, right?
Yeah.
yeah, and, Paul is on vacation this week, and Alan and Nicole have, the choice to do, and they've been doing a good job. I asked them to, we'll give them the GPS this week, so that they can start, because they're gonna be doing some snow work on the roads, where they can simultaneously do the GPS settings, especially. since
Yeah, I think they'll come back to me in a second.
it's
It's open session.
I
Yeah, it's
run out of kids.
just going to the chief reports right now.
Oh, they did, they did. And maybe, you know what, then speaking of it, I think you ought to write a letter, to the kids that, about this, GPS project, and I'll write it up, and then we'll send it up to all the kids. And if they move along in their careers and need a letter of recommendation, I'll write up a letter of recommendation so we can get in front of it. I got it. Okay. Well,
Yes, thank you. Sorry for the delay. So I'll give you a quick rundown of the last week or so. We took a report from a resident, one of my first people like this, about a drone flying over somebody's property, taking some video of some people that were camping up behind their property. And a lot of people may not realize it, but there are rules and regulations in New Hampshire concerning drones and where you can fly them. So I checked with the individual who was supposedly responsible for it. As it turns out, it wasn't him, but he did see a drone flying the same day that this lady claimed was over her property. It is in a no-fly zone because it's in close proximity to the airport. Yes. So at the end of my report, I have attached some information that the state of New Hampshire has pertaining to the rules and regulations of the drones. So people can click on this and hyperlink it and find out what those regulations are. And I think it's something that we're probably going to see more of, and there'll be more adjustments in the regulations as more people recreate with these things. There's actually a class which I did not realize that you had to take if you were going to utilize a drone that's over a certain size in the state of New Hampshire, even recreationally. So I feel like
what in essence is the rule as far as private property? You can't fly a drone over somebody's property?
well, see, in the state of New Hampshire, there's case law pertaining to what somebody has as far as an expectation of privacy, and even law enforcement has had case law, because if you can see over somebody's fence, if the fence isn't high enough and you can still see over it, do they have an expectation of privacy? And they do, thank God, yes, they still do, so. So that's one of the things that it addresses as well. Yes, Francis?
Those drones are as about as insensitive for picking up stuff on people's property as you can imagine, even the more sophisticated ones.
What do you mean about picking things up?
If somebody walks out on their property and there's a drone overhead about 200 feet, they look like an ant.
Well, actually, there's drones out there that have very good camera and video systems that are attached to them.
Ridiculous.
And that's why we're,
In fact, there's fire departments that have drones that have heat capability, thermal imaging, right?
thermal imaging,
Yeah.
infrared, yeah.
Yeah.
And even law enforcement agencies and fire departments have trainings that they have to attend, and there are different federal rules and regulations that are applicable to them as well.
Yeah, I would say
You're not
the
gonna
fire
read
department
I'm not budgeting for a drone this year, so
You're not gonna read a number plate that high.
sure you can.
Okay.
Okay,
and
so,
I'll let you-
having said that, The information will be at the end of the posting that Linda will do for me later on. I also met with a property owner in town regarding a rear window that was broken and some trespassing that had taken place on the property. The window was broken, but nobody gained access, nothing was reported missing. I don't know if somebody showed up at the time that someone was gonna try to gain entry, but the bottom line is it's a criminal mischief and a criminal trespass. The property is now being rented, so there's no other concern for that. And there weren't any other reports in any other area of town or specific to this one. So we have one broken window and somebody on someone's property where somebody hasn't been for a long period of time. So I just want to clarify. I took a report of a suspicious vehicle in a camper that was parked overnight on some town property. I was able to make contact with the owner. There was some mix-up or confusion on his part on where he could be or should be, and I clarified that with him and checked back with him a little bit later. He did move the camper and this pickup truck, and in checking the area where he was, he policed it up very well. I think he even took stuff with him that he didn't come with to begin with, so he wanted to make sure that he wasn't gonna get into trouble for being there.
Okay,
That was addressed and taken care of.
okay, good.
From Town Speedway did run this past weekend. There was an incident that took place on the track between a couple drivers that spilled off into the pits, which sometimes does happen. I addressed one of the drivers who appeared to be the primary instigator, and he's been trespassed from the track with the support of Dan Bound, the manager. So he's not coming back. It's an issue that came up, we addressed it, and we're moving on. I think the track has been very non-problematic. They do a great job managing it, and they're very supportive of us and how we handle things as well. So,
Yeah, I was saying before you came in that I think the sound and the timing, they've done a lot for people in the community.
yeah,
I know we had one complaint earlier, but I don't think it's.
and that turned out not to be the racetrack.
Yeah.
It turned out to be somebody else. So, anyways. One last thing, in closing, I want to address some recent concerns that were brought up to me by residents regarding a social media post pertaining to some thefts and burglaries and reports of catalytic converter thefts. Although we're not exempt from these crimes, no community is, these crimes did not happen in Wentworth. There was some miscommunication. Some people thought Wentworth was being targeted and that these thefts were happening here and these burglaries and, oh my God, my phone and people stopping me. It was a rough couple of days last week, but I think we got that clarified. If there is something that's happening in Wentworth, I am very informative, I'm not bashful. I will come in, I'll let you know, I'll tell you, and I'll make some recommendations what I think we need to do to try to take care of that problem. Having said that, we still need to be diligent.
Yeah.
You know, I want us to lock our doors at night, you know, lock our vehicles up. If, and I know this is gonna sound stupid, but I just had this conversation with somebody a few days ago. If you're leaving a loaded firearm in your handgun, a handgun in your vehicle, lock your vehicle. You know, we're searching for a handgun that can't be found, and they couldn't remember what they did with it, thought it may have been taken from the vehicle because the vehicle was unlocked. If you're that irresponsible, you probably shouldn't be having a handgun to begin with, to say nothing about leaving it in your vehicle unlocked. We were able to locate the handgun later, but those are just little things that, you know, we need to remember to do. If you see somebody on a neighbor's property that doesn't look right, call the police department. We'll check it out for you, don't have a problem with that. You know, the saying, if you see something, say something. If you see something, say something. If it doesn't look right, you know, your neighbors are gonna watch out for you, you need to watch out for them. I'm gonna try to watch out for everybody as best I can. And I've said this before, I said it last year, I said it the year before. Social media has its place. But unfortunately, sometimes information gets distorted, and once that social media ball starts to roll and gain momentum, it's hard to do some damage control. So I wouldn't use that as the platform. Come and see me, call me, reach out to one of us, you know. I'm pretty informative with the selectmen, even with things that maybe can't be discussed publicly. But if there's an issue, we'll deal with it. We'll bring it to your attention. So,
Thank you.
that's it for me. Any questions?
Jordan?
I'm good.
Thanks, Chief.
You're welcome. Okay.
The old business, update on the Class 6 Road Committee.
All right. So there's been no meetings since the first one, because I was sent home with homework to identify the two most important roads, Ellsworth Hill and Saunders Hill Road. And Francis and I, was that earlier this week or last week? No. Last week.
It was Wednesday last week.
Okay, last week we came in and we went through the extensive road file that Francis has prepared for the town in the past. And I'd like to take the moment to publicly thank Francis for all of that work, for that binder that's this thick with all the town's information on the roads. That is gonna help the town for generations. And if we didn't have that, there would be nothing that we could do with any of these roads, because nobody else was gonna go spend 1,000 hours to put all this together. He's got road layouts from the 1700s
Right.
in there and deciphered. And that's a lot of work, so,
Anybody that cares to know it should know that Warren has the same thing also.
yes. So thank you very much, Francis, for all that work in the past, and it's been helpful and it will continue to be.
It's good. It's good. I read through it. It's very accurate and complete. The other thing that came up is I talked with the Historical Society, and they have copies of the warrants. And they're throwing them out and
Copies of what?
categorized. The warrant articles on the road layouts. Because the key thing that you gotta have for making a decision whether the town owns the road or not is whether the road is ever laid out. So the layouts that she has, that she's filing, come from the 1790s.
Probably the same thing.
Yeah, he's
It's-
got
it's-
copies.
But these are the original warrants, so in a legal argument, the warrants will back up all the good work that you're doing.
The original warrants are in the library.
Yeah, he's got copies of it.
Which burning, right?
Huh?
Which burning?
No,
No, those
our current library.
Oh, okay, current, okay.
Yeah.
I had spoken to Nancy Masterson about, I think she's trying to, or she still has a project where she's trying to convert a lot of very old paper like original documents into digital form, but that's still ongoing for now. Right? I think so.
Right, so anyways, thank you, Francis.
But your work is substantiated by those files which are needed.
Yep. So with that, we were able to do our homework. We were sent home to find out the classifications of two specific roads, Ellsworth Hill from Nichols Hill to Camp Victory, and the Saunders Hill Road from the Class 5 portion by Eric Mackey's house, by the Silver Bridge, all the way around to the state piece on where it intersects with Hooper Hill Road. That's all Saunders Hill Road.
Okay,
Those are both classics.
okay.
Francis and I went through the materials, the layouts are there, the discontinuances are very, very specific actually, which was nice.
Okay.
And those are confirmed Class 6 roads. So
Okay.
now we know what we can and can't do.
Now, when you say the discontinuances are accurate, have they been discontinued?
They've been discontinued subject to gates and bars. And it was in the
Subject to gates
40s.
and bars. Okay.
1943, I think, were the two discontinued.
Okay.
So now we have that information, which I was waiting to make the next meeting until I had that to bring it there. So I talked to Paul, because Paul's gone this week. He'll be back Monday. So Monday, 8/2 at 5 p.m., just like before. He'll be at the shop, and that'll be the next Class 6 Roads Committee.
Okay.
So if Linda, would you mind posting a notice for that, please? And then I'll make the phone calls and like I did last time.
Did you say 5 or
5 p.m. Monday, 8/2 at the highway garage. So I had
So
some,
it's gonna be, it's a public meeting,
yeah, just like last, we had like 20 people last time.
so Andrew and I can come to it, it doesn't have to be just one selectman.
As long as we post it as a potential select meeting, if you think you
Well,
want to go.
If, when I talked to legal,
Yeah, what do they say?
they said that you can go as as an audience, not a member
Okay,
of
that's
the
fine.
committee, but don't make any decisions.
Yeah, there's no votes. Whatever we come up with, we're gonna have to bring back.
You gotta
to
bring
select
back
board.
here to the
So
vote.
it doesn't have to be a select board meeting.
Okay,
Okay, so we can go and listen and
Yes.
listen.
more than welcome. And everybody's welcome. So if I see there's Snowmobile Club people here, if you guys would mind passing that through your ranks, next Monday is the meeting.
Okay.
On top of that, so New Hampshire Municipal, I bounced a few questions off of them. It all boils down basically that on a Class 6 road, the select board solely has full control over anything that's Class 6.
Okay.
I asked them about abutters or people that own both sides of the road, because I had heard rumors that they would have more control. That's not the case. If it's Class 6,
What if a class 6 road goes nowhere but to that piece of property?
okay, well, I explained the situation of these roads, and they
Oh,
chose
that's,
that for
yeah,
me.
okay, that, I was at,
Right, because
okay.
they loop around from one to
I
another.
got you.
So the select board the landowners don't have, unfortunately, a whole lot of say other than what the board does.
Okay.
So that's the next part of it. Also, just quickly, this is all gonna be discussed in the meeting. But I figured that as far as the Snowmobile Club part, which we don't need to spend a lot of time on because we're gonna have more meetings on this. But there's basically 3 owners that have financial interest in that road up there in that section. One of them is Mrs. Carroll. Another one is Guy Kennison. And another one is Ron Boucher from the Green Camp. And that's all their accesses for their properties. So I thought, while we're on the subject of doing all this, why not take a poll of what they want to see with their road, since they're the ones that are paying to fix it. Mrs. Carroll obviously wants it reopened to the snowmobiles. I spoke with Guy. Guy prefers to leave it the way that it is and leave the road alone and have them on the snowmobile trail. And I spoke to Ron Boucher, who also owns that road, and it dead ends at his log landing, so that's his main access.
It, the log line, when you say his log line, that's the one,
The big one at the top, before it goes to crap, the road,
just, and it's
as far as you can
So-
tell.
sloped up to the left, and there's a lot of debris there.
Yep, so his would be up and to the right of there, but he's put significant money into that road about 10, 15 years ago. And then the previous owner of Jim Carroll's piece put significant money in the road to make it into what it is now. Because if those 2 landowners did nothing, there'd be no road and this would be no discussion. So I polled them, 2 out of 3 owners want to see the road left as is.
Okay.
So we'll discuss that at the meeting. And then somebody else emailed me as part of this and sent me a notice that there is a state legislative committee or commission
Class 5 and 6.
to look into the effects of ATVs on class 5 and 6 roads.
Right.
So we have no idea what they're looking at specifically or what they're gonna come up with, but the state is looking at this
They're
themselves.
just organizing the committee.
Yeah.
They're establishing rules for the minority party, majority party, and they're at the absolute organizational phase.
It's very preliminary.
Yeah.
It'll probably take quite a while, but it's good that they're looking into it because that's kind of an important thing going on in the state, if there is. Francis?
Make a comment on about certain class 6 roads. One of the things I would have in the back of your mind is there's absolutely no difference between a class 5 road and a class 6 road as far as enforcement, control, and so on, except for maintenance.
The town money. Yep. The town has full authority, basically. You do or not do whatever you want to do, except for putting money into the class 6 road. So that's about it for updates. We've done our homework. I also notified a few of the owners further up, the few people that had written letters as part of the meeting before, one of them being Ron Boucher. So I informed him of the classification of the roads because they were waiting to hear what it actually was. Because if it was fully discontinued, that'd be a whole different ballgame as far as what goes on. So I told them, he said that he was gonna reach out to the club directly to talk to them and deal with it on that level.
Yeah, that's between the club and
Which
the
is-
landowners.
Probably the best option is just for the club and the landowners to work out
Town's not part of it.
things together, and the town will have to regulate any major construction or anything. But anyways, that's what it is, that's where we're headed, we got a meeting coming up.
Did you talk to any of the landowners on the Wentworth Road?
The only one would be like Rick DeShano, and I haven't called him yet, but I'm gonna call him, because we're just setting the meeting, and
Rick, how many neighbors do you have on that road that you share the work with?
Right now, there's 3 of us, and the 3 of us just put $12,000 into that road.
Okay. Okay,
I mean, there's more landowners, but there are 3 homes up there.
okay.
What do you anticipate as an objective of the next meeting?
Thank you.
so there's 2 options we can go with. One, we can either discuss the snowmobile club issue, and then that would come back, we'd get hopefully a consensus of what we want to do, and then bring that back to a selectment meeting to discuss one last final time. Or, because that's probably its own meeting, or a secondary meeting would be the Ellsworth Hill stuff. Chief Bain suggested possibly turning that into an emergency lane, so we'll discuss whether or not the town feels that that's appropriate.
Where's that from here?
From Nichols Hill to King Victor, because of the bridges on Nichols Hill Road and Ellsworth Hill Road. So there's some potential for potentially maybe wanting to do something there. And then other than that, it would just be to address any concerns that his neighbors might bring up at the meeting.
Yeah. Rick, do you have any concerns you want to bring up now, or do you want to wait until the meeting on Monday?
Cindy and I are gonna be at the meeting on Monday,
Okay,
and we'll discuss things there. I still wanna talk to Francis before time, because I had talked to him earlier, and something about Old County Road was the original Class 6, so I'll straighten that out with him.
okay. There you go. He's gonna chat up. Do you, okay.
I don't have any control over anything, I just have to.
I think he just wants
He
information.
wants information, that's all he's looking for.
So again, that's next Monday, the 2nd at 5 p.m. I envision one meeting for the Snowmobile Club stuff and one meeting for Ellsworth Hill.
Okay. I guess you ready to jump in on the update on the gravel pit?
Yes, I got my notes. So,
And those notes have got to go to Linda because,
okay,
yeah, just because we gotta have an accurate assessment of this for the minute.
that's fine, this was just for me to talk and she can have it. Okay, so the gravel pit. I only today emailed Chris Fournier for an update, so it's not surprising that I haven't gotten an email, but I was asking him about, I CC'd you on it, so you'll see the response, about the deed research and their deed sketch. So that should be forthcoming. Last time I talked to him, he said that there was nothing groundbreaking that had happened, so I gave him the email to check in. I've also reached out to a couple of other entities, like I talked before. I had talked to the Forest Society about conservation easements or selling to an easement holder, people that might want to save it for wildlife and river, like riparian habitat and such. So I reached out to 2, they sent me to Penny Baker Land Trust. Are you a part of that?
I'm a member of the Penny Baker River Watershed Association.
Okay. So the Penny Baker Land Trust, I reached out to Janice Mulheron, who was a forester for the Forest Service on Buffalo Road. I have not heard back from her yet, but that's kind of in their area, so they may have some interest. And I also reached out to NRCS because they have a wood turtle program. It's an endangered or it's a threatened species
Yep.
in the Baker River watershed. And they're specifically trying to manage for that on the Baker River. And I reached out to them and they reached out to their biologist and they had interest, so they asked me for more information. So I sent them some more maps and stuff like that. So I've got a couple different organizations that I filtered it out through to see if they have any interest as far as purchasing or easements or something like that instead of it being a gravel pit.
So there's three distinct avenues that you're following.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll see if anybody has any interest. If no one does, we have to pursue the gravel pit. If somebody wants to make an offer to buy it from NRCS, then I guess we'd have to figure out what to do with that later. But the deed research also has to
NRCS will probably freak out if they know it could be a gravel pit.
hopefully. So we'll see. So we're making progress on that, and I'll let you know when the HEB gets back on the survey.
Okay. They're usually pretty good coming back at you.
Okay, FEMA obligation.
Okay, so nothing significant, however, Paul Hatch reached out to me, and now that our,
Independently?
yes, he called me on his own.
That's a good sign.
Yep.
Okay.
So because everything got moved from Vermont to Boston, we have a new, I forgot the term, like caseworker. He said that we've had about 8 since this started in 2017. So he's not off of it, but within Boston, their person. So this guy has very broad questions that are not technical or specific in any way to get acquainted with the project. So they're trying to set up a Zoom meeting with myself and Chris Mornier and probably Paul from the highway garage. And if you guys want to be invited, that's fine. But it's also, he stressed that it's going to be very general, very basic, kind of a meet and greet. More
So he's
scenario.
bringing his database up, a personal database, so he understands the problem.
Yes, because he's very green, he's just entering this project, unfortunately. So he had some questions in an email that were, I mean, very broad, that were very much beyond, so.
It might be worth inviting him up, just to come and just walk the bridge areas.
Yep.
You know, and then he can answer a lot of questions right there.
Yep. So they're going to, apparently they're very busy, there's been washouts down south with these storms. So now they're down there working on that. So they had a few windows of opportunity. They're gonna email me a list of times that they can do a Zoom meeting. I'm assuming it's during the business day. So I'll filter that out to you guys if you wanna attend. If
Yeah,
not,
I'd appreciate that.
if you can't, I'll handle it with Chris and maybe Paul.
Yeah, just include us in the group, and if we can make it, we'll be there.
Yep. We'll do.
Okay. Andrew, the NHDC, I saw your email on that.
Yeah, so there's been some rumors flying around, contacts that people have made, customers of NHEC contacting New Hampshire Broadband, which is a NHEC company. And there's also an email received by the town as well, looking to possibly get additional funding from the town to go toward the NHEC broadband project. I was very concerned, so I reached out to a executive contact at NHEC, Mike Licata. Have yet to receive an email back. That was a few days ago that I sent that email. Could have been either at the beginning of the week or late last week, I can't remember. But I am waiting an email back to basically confirm that they're still on schedule for what they promised us back in this in February, March timeframe. Because just so everybody understands, NHEC, one of the board members, Bill Darcy, who's also a selectman up in Benton, and another gentleman, Robert Cruikshank, he was in charge of New Hampshire Broadband at the time, apparently is not anymore.
They presented at the select board.
Right, they presented at the select board meeting, I have a presentation, and we have a recorded Zoom meeting that indicates that all of their poll surveying and so on was going to start this summer, and no later than 2 years from the start date, and the start date they determined to be about, I think August 21st actually, was they were going to start by that date. So once they started, it was going to take no more than 24 months for 100% of the town to have broadband, fiber optic cabling to your house. There's some rumors flying around, and what customers are getting feedback from NHEC, and I'm starting to get the impression they possibly may be going back on what they had promised us earlier this year. So I'm not going to let that happen. At least, whatever I can do to make sure they keep to their word. But I'm waiting for word back from Mike Licata right now over at NHEC.
They've got the infrastructure, they've got all the poles.
Right. I think it's honestly, I think it's a prioritization type thing. I just want to put these rumors to bed, so I'm going to make sure I get that update from NHEC And next meeting, I'll have hopefully a little bit more clear and concise, word from them that they're gonna stick to their word. So that's what I'm hoping for right now.
Yeah, I think what's happening here is with all of the changes in Washington, there's a lot of potential money through the towns that can be maneuvered into these projects. And what the town has to initiate the maneuver.
But the thing here is
And
that,
but that wasn't available
Yep.
when he did the presentation in our select board meeting.
right, at that time, they had already been awarded I believe the wording was a contract, or actually no, a federal money through the FCC, through some kind of grant program that they have to pay for the infrastructure. They had already indicated to us that there wouldn't be any money that's gonna be coming from the
They
town.
were already paid the grant. I think what they're trying to do is take advantage of the new money that's coming out in these new acts, these new infrastructure acts.
Yeah.
But they knew to get their hands on that money, they gotta do it through the towns.
That's understandable, yeah, because it's, so this is the American Rescue Plan, right?
Right.
Okay, so just so everybody knows, American Rescue Plan, the federal government's giving the states money, and then the states are giving the towns and municipalities money, which we were at, I think, around 101,000.
101.
So basically, they're asking us to
Take some of that money.
donate some of that money to the project, I suppose. I'll get some
That's
more
what
details
they
on it.
presented.
Exactly, absolutely, and that really makes me feel uneasy, so.
I hold their feet to the fire and just make them
Right.
stand by their commitment.
Right, absolutely, and that's what I plan on doing, so everybody knows.
Okay. And that's it on that broadband.
That's it on that topic,
Linda, your update on the town property sales?
Well, we placed the ad in the Plymouth Record and also put it on the website. Nobody's responded yet. We had a little bit of interest, wanted some information on the property. But it's still early because the first ad doesn't come out until this Thursday.
Okay.
So,
And
but it is all placed.
when is our deadline for the opening of bids?
I think it was August 24th.
Okay, so it's a month.
Yeah.
What property is this?
The Mount Musala, probably 4.9 acres.
Where is it?
You know where Phil and Netta live?
Huh?
You know where Phil and Netta live?
Yeah,
from
okay,
Shawnee's?
gotcha.
That one,
Yep.
on the river.
So,
They've already made an offer for it, did you count on it?
Yes, that was a while ago.
okay. New business, request for crosswalks?
Well, I was gonna speak on that, but it was because Homer had put in a request, and so did Donna King. But Homer's here now, so he can speak on his request.
I'm a little late with carrying out the wishes of two of the members of this select board when I was sitting in Andrew's seat to contact the state DOT
Yes.
about putting in a crosswalk there across from the roadway that goes into the post office road.
Right, okay.
And so in dealing with Christopher Turgeon, PE, Assistant District Engineer, Bureau of Highway Maintenance, finally talked with him today about it. And he said, if the town would like to have a crosswalk there needs to be a letter from the select board to the traffic bureau, the New Hampshire DOT Traffic Bureau, requesting it. Okay, then they will send out I'm not sure if they use the word team or not, but they'll send someone out to reconnoiter the situation, look at the situation there, to see if it's warranted. And if it's warranted, then, the state can approve it. Now, it was a quick phone call, so I'm not sure whether the state, in the first instance, if they approve it, will paint the lines. But if if that is what happens, but I got a feeling, because after that, the town is responsible 100% for the maintenance of the white lines across there into the future, highway department or whoever.
Across the state road?
Across the state road, yes. Yeah, I know, but that's what he said, the town is fully responsible for maintaining, because it's not in connection with a school. If it were a school that, we were doing this for, it would be a different rule. See, my concern is, I've seen young kids walking up and down that road.
Yeah, there's the libraries there, the
Yep.
common, and there's a lot of recreating going on right there.
The swimming hole right now, this time you're in the swimming pool, yeah, so, I'm just worried about, because when they're coming down the hill, they're not going the speed limit. It's a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit there, and they're not going the speed limit. I mean, I take my life in my hands every time I pull out of my driveway, after looking 6 ways, before going out.
Trooper Trot just recently stopped a person doing 61 over the hill.
I bet.
Yeah. So, anyway, so it's up to the select board to,
Write a letter.
make the letter to the traffic bureau. That's what he said it would have
Traffic
to
bureau.
go to. So, and then I guess, you had a second
We
request.
had a second request from Donna King to have a crosswalk put between Shawnee's and Hamilton Field.
Yeah, because people were talking over in the old town hall and walking across right there.
Is that the same one you were talking about?
No,
No,
okay.
there's two
This
different,
is the ball field to Shawn East and the farmer's market.
Hamilton Field.
Yeah.
He's talking about Ellsworth Hill, the post office, common.
Right across from my house.
Okay, gotcha. When that was repaved a few years back, that same question was posed to them why they couldn't do it while they were doing the repaving and make it better. They flatly refused.
Yeah, the state didn't want to do it in the past. I think that's probably what they're gonna do too. Yeah.
So I can
But
see
I
the
will write
reasons,
the letter.
and I can see the reasons for both, and we're not voting yet, but I can see sending the letter. My only concern is that on across from Omer, because of the hill and the sight distance and the speed, my concern is that if you have a crosswalk where someone goes across the road right there,
Somebody's
they're
going over the
expecting
top.
someone to coming over the hill to stop. If it's a loaded log truck, which there's about 100 a day, there's no way they can stop for someone on the crosswalk. So at least with no crosswalk, you need to make sure there's no car coming. But with a crosswalk, people expect the car to stop, and no log truck's gonna stop in that distance. So that's the only concern that I have, that it might create its own hazard.
The letter for both of them would be a good idea because it relieves the town of responsibility because you have notified the state of the dangers that are inherent in both of those places.
Yeah, DOT would put their own time and effort into determining whether it's worth doing, so it wouldn't hurt to send a letter, but they may say the same thing.
Yeah.
So along the same lines, I mean, if they're gonna do the research and if a crosswalk is warranted, couldn't they make a recommendation on what additional safety measures for it to be actually, well, a safe crosswalk, I suppose?
Maybe more signage,
You know.
but still.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
you're right, and that will come out when when the traffic bureau does their report.
Right, I'm hoping that they do, enough analysis to indicate, like, we could do this crosswalk, but, this also should be done, like, I don't know, put the, some type of stoplight up at the top or something, I don't know.
I think that's a good point, and I just think we should include that in the letter. Asking pointed questions.
I would say at this point the letter is imperative because they've been made aware that they could make that inquiry and to not do so would put some responsibility on you in the case of a major, the town.
Yeah, I think we don't have any problem writing a letter.
Yeah, very, very important now.
Okay.
You wanna make a motion to do that?
Can I offer one additional, just with the
Sure.
12 and 13-year-old? Because I think it's a great idea. I think Dollar General crossing would be a great addition as well if they're going to look at this. Just 25A, 25. Cars come around really fast, and my kids often are just walking downtown. I don't think that would be disruptive at all.
That was the initial question that Chris asked me.
Yeah.
He said, are you talking in front of Dollar General?
But I think both should be just looked at, if we could add that one.
Are you indicating
I don't know if you're gonna
parallel
put
to
three.
25?
I don't,
25A,
Yeah.
especially people come in 25 and they turn in the Dollar General, they're coming fast and they have no stop, is there a stop there? But there's no stop there, they just zip it through, so
well,
it's
Just,
a consideration if they're gonna,
yeah,
if Dot's gonna look,
yeah,
so.
I don't know if they're gonna put 3 crosswalks within 200 yards of each other. That's a lot.
But maybe they give us one.
Yeah. Okay.
And we requested this before, they just flatly refused.
Yeah, they just, I
Yeah.
remember that.
But now they've got a in-law, so to speak, by suggesting that you write a letter. I think it's imperative to do it.
I'll make a motion that we send that letter.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
I vote yes.
Yes.
Yes, this is.
Who's volunteering to write it?
I mean, Omar, would
I'll
you
make you
wanna
one
like
letter.
work with us on?
I'd be glad to, yeah, I'd be glad to, sure.
We'll sign off on it. and then-
Well, work with you. But during the summertime, my practice just goes very busy. Anyway, I'm not sure that there might be another young lady in the room who could probably help me with this. I don't wanna mention any names, not gonna mention any names.
Can you pour mine in the pile?
Do we wanna do it for both?
Might as well, if they're gonna come out and look, they might as well look at the whole run and decide on which ones they will or will not do.
DOT's gonna be out here to do repaving, they're starting on the 28th.
Right,
So
yeah, there we go.
they're-
Signs up and
The
everything.
supervisor's gonna be out here, we've got a pretty good rapport with him, and I think when they start doing paving, I'll probably come down and just chat with them, and just find out what's the best way to do this and how to
Probably
do
might
it.
know. Right.
It's okay.
Do you think, do you wanna just possibly hold off until you can try to talk to them?
Oh, I will talk to him first, there's no
Okay.
sense in waiting.
Alright,
There's no sense in writing a non-targeted letter, when if you can figure their infrastructure out and how they operate,
sure.
you can,
Right,
Right,
you
more.
probably, gain more ground or whatever, by talking to someone directly, yeah.
yeah, I'll come, when they're only, it's only 2 days away, they're gonna be starting, and they'll have all the supervisors out here, so we can.
Okay.
And they're gonna be working from the road in front of your house, all the way to the school. Yeah. So,
Okay.
this would be a perfect time to integrate that.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Yeah, I wanted to also talk to them about how they do the paving and lines, to slow people down on that hill.
Put a speed bump in.
Yeah, then you plow it up, man.
Water bars work.
A water bar over there. Okay.
Put a rotary in.
Yeah.
Right in front of Omar's house.
Okay. In public.
And you're gonna slow them down. If you slow them down, I'll be happy.
I had new business.
New business, go ahead.
Two quick things. So I was reading through the minutes, and we had, Paul brought up the North Dorchester, bridge rating.
Yes.
And I was under the impression that Paul was gonna reach out to them, then as I read the minutes, it indicated that I was gonna reach out to them, so I did today. And I sent HEB an email asking that, I gave them the particulars and asked them for kind of a quote. So just letting you know that I did do that today,
Okay,
and I'll let you know whatever they say.
okay, that's good, that you get that in the minutes.
And then just a quick second thing, well, I don't know how quick it'll be, but then last time we didn't get to the Avatar stuff, we're supposed to reach out to them and find out what the deal is.
Yeah, so I was gonna say that after you actually, so I reached out to, is it Jaren? I think,
Yes.
Jared, sorry, Jaren. I reached out to a supervisor, I have a meeting set up with her, unfortunately her schedule's kind of booked up, so I'm not talking to her until a week from Thursday. But I did get some time with her, so we're gonna do a deep dive into the whole process. I'm gonna bring up some additional concerns and whatnot. And I should have, let's see, so it's not, I should be able to have it for the next the next select board meeting.
I found it interesting that the DRA, the state DRA, is gonna audit a lot of Avatar's work in this particular town.
Oh, really?
They always do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's, they just wanna make sure that what they're reading is accurate.
Right. So I mean, the concerns I'm gonna bring up is, you know, the various different items I've heard from various different residents on concerns about property tax assessments going up.
Not showing up on site. We've had a lot of people say that they never saw them.
Not showing up on site, some concerns that we had in a non-public as well, and just the overall process. The overall process of how are they going through every single property, getting a better idea, so if anybody else does bring anything to the board, I'll have a better idea as to, you know, what I can actually reflect in them.
Okay.
Could I just comment,
Sure.
just maybe so people can hear this and understand too, that this whole assessment process is a 5-year cycle. And during the 5 years, each property is visited at least once. If you have a change that was made on your April 1st inventory form, then that triggers another visit. So some properties get visited more than once, but they're only required to visit once. And then, at the end of the 5 years, which is this year, it happened in 2016, and now this year, they do a full reassessment, and they don't visit homes unless they have a reason to. But instead, what they do is they drive through all the roads, look at the properties visually, check if they have right there their computer or whatever with their property information.
You get the satellite view of the property, right there in the car.
And they look at it and say, okay, this pretty much matches what we have on file. And, so, they check that. They don't individually change an assessment. Instead, what they do is they go back now with the sales of properties, much like a realtor does, to determine certain things, and they plug those amounts into a computer, and there's all sorts of factors. There's depreciation factors, there's everything based on every property, and that's how everybody's assessment gets created. It's like a blanket thing, just so that they know, because people don't understand, if they haven't seen the assessor, they may have been there 2-3 years ago.
Linda, do we know if the look-away lane stuff got fixed? Because it sounds like they had an
Yes,
issue.
They had
I
a lot of
talked to
issues.
them today, I talked to Sharon today, and he and his supervisor have been down there. They checked the area extensively, and also checked to make sure the deeds were written correctly and things like that. There are gonna be some adjustments, so.
Okay.
But, and the other thing, important, after they do all of their, all people who had concerns about their assessment and they're going out and looking at these properties, once they do all that, they're gonna be doing new assessments. You'll have your final one. I'll get another letter, just like the first one we got, but it'll be our final assessment.
Okay.
So the supervisor that I spoke to on the phone, it was more of a brief phone call. She indicated that these hearings, I believe she kind of referred to them as, were all completed, and one that had sent
Yes.
in any type of concern, I suppose.
Right, they were the phone appointments.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So just to be clear, so but there's no follow-ups or anything like that from people that are still concerned, I suppose, right?
I did get a couple of calls to ask, somebody stopped in and got another request to say, when are we gonna hear?
Okay,
And I just told them, within the next couple of weeks,
Okay.
we'll all get another letter.
And again, I'll get another update the next select board meeting.
Basically, what's happening over 5-year periods is all 5 years, they do data collection as necessary. And once, on the 5th year, they reanalyze the properties relative to other sales in the town, or in the absence of enough sales in the town, they go to other towns to get similar comparisons. So,
So that's why the property assessments can,
up,
would go up more consistently throughout various different properties, I'm assuming? Because what I have seen so far is that property assessments have, that the assessments, yeah, they have gone up, but all have been, that I've encountered have been similar as far as the price going up. Which I suppose would make sense based off of, you know, what we're hearing.
I couldn't prove what I'm about to say, but I've been told by our assessors, sometimes capes value higher than colonials. Other periods of time, that whole thing be reversed again. So it's a comparative analysis on the basis of the data that they have.
Yeah, they have an algorithm that
Limited use assessment.
I just wanted to give an example. All the people that border the Baker River, their land values went way up, just about double. And the reason being is that there was a large parcel of land that got sold, that abutted the Baker. And in this day, in this market, you know, they're getting top dollar for things. So that one sale affected everyone.
Yeah, but they should not adversely consider outliers, because that would be an outlier.
Excuse me?
Well, we could talk to them about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was one example that I was given that affected
Yeah.
people's rates.
Yeah, the value of property in this town is.
One property should not be changing the whole mess. They have to do a comparative
No,
analysis.
but it does change anybody who has Baker River
Baker
property.
River. Okay, any public comments?
I just want, no, go ahead, I did my say.
I just want to introduce Steve Davis.
Yeah,
He's our trail administrator,
right.
okay? And we're gonna have him leave his contact information for anything town related for the Snowmobile Club. So we can make sure that we're getting the messages we're supposed to get.
Okay.
There's been a lot of talk about, I can't get a hold of anybody, or we can't get a hold of anybody. So we wanna make sure we leave the contact information. Steve is the end all be all as far as taking care of the trails for our club.
Okay,
All right?
if you just give your contact information to Linda.
Sure.
We've communicated, right?
Correct.
Email?
Yep.
Okay, and you have the information for the meeting that's upcoming?
He went to the other one, right?
Yeah, I went to the first one.
Yeah, I'm right there.
And then you just talked about the next one, so I
Yeah.
have that.
Okay, can you inform Mrs. Carroll of the meeting? Are you gonna give her? I think she left me her email, but I have to dig through my paperwork.
Yeah,
She's a club member this year.
She's
So
not a club member.
you're gonna be the point of contact for the club?
correct.
Okay.
And we'll look forward to working with the town to do whatever we can to straighten out the issues that we're having.
Okay.
He's also a resident, so we pick somebody in town this time.
Just an opinion, I do not believe that broadband should be costing the taxpayers anything. Nor should it affect my light bill if I don't choose to have broadband. In other words, you want broadband, you pay for it.
And that was a firm belief that the whole select board brought forward when they presented this from the New Hampshire EC.
100% agree with you, 100% agree with you.
The whole board went that way, we challenged these people, they have the telephone poles, it's just a matter of running wire, and the payment for that was gonna come out of fees, and they talked about fees being either $80 or $50 a month, you know, just if people wanted to sign up for it.
Now, can the infrastructure money being received by towns be used for that?
Well, that's what that's why the delay here, that's what I was just saying.
Well, possibly. I mean, The money for the infrastructure for the broadband through NHEC was supposed to be paid for by FCC grant money.
They already have that money.
Right.
Now, what they're trying to do, they send a letter to us, now that they know that we have capability of getting money from the federal government, where they want to tap into that source of money.
But on the basis of that, it should not affect the taxpayer's tax bill.
Correct.
No,
We're not gonna let that happen.
Correct.
no.
Yeah.
We've
I
already
mean,
made that decision, and we've already let them know.
if anything like that was gonna happen, I mean, it would have to be a town vote anyways, I believe.
Yeah,
That has to be
So-
town warrant.
The people that buy the service will be paying for the service.
Right.
As owner will tell you, I made that opinion clear at one of the meetings I went to up there.
No, we share that, and we pushed our agenda hard with them in that
I
respect.
wasn't so confident that the liberal element up there was in favor of that so much.
So, okay, well, at this point,
Ernie, you wanna get one more?
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Just biding my time. So, my name is Pete Russell. I'm Vice President of Baker River Snowmobile Club.
Okay,
And I just wanted to, reinforce what Steve said. The club is very committed to, working with the town. We're an important community member of this town. We've had the elementary school kids out to do bake sales, fundraisers on weekends at the clubhouse. The Boy Scouts have been there. We're working with one scout right now to help him get his Eagle Scout by doing a project at the clubhouse. We getting back up to Cooper Hill Road. The funding that we got from the state was more around $5,000 to $6,000, not 15. And that money did get spent on that trail, and that trail was groomed when applicable by us, and it was used by our club. And then also the Thanksgiving dinners that, we put on for the town at Thanksgiving. So we're like to feel that we're an important community member, and hopefully that, when it comes to the trail, that you guys will take that into consideration. The other thing that is kind of a concern is if that trail goes away, then all that snowmobile traffic that goes up to, Shawn East, get gas and other things, that's gonna end for them too. So, I mean, that's just gonna cut that corridor off, which, everybody will just, redirect and go, to Lime or wherever else. So, and we really wanna do whatever, it takes to, keep that trail open. So, it's very important to us.
taking part in the meetings, in the committee meetings that we're running to try and figure this out.
Yeah,
Who owns the roads and who's responsible for the decision making and stuff.
right,
That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to organize it.
yeah,
Not just for this group, not for this select board alone, but for the future. So
sure.
now we have a pathway of how to make decisions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're committed to
Yeah, thank you very
doing
much.
whatever we can.
Quick question for you guys. So I assume for the next meetings, I'm kind of think that it's gonna be one meeting for this and then one meeting for Ellsworth Hill. Can you guys make this upcoming meeting? Because I can make the upcoming meeting,
We'll
the
be at
snowmobile
We'll be at
one.
all of them. Somebody representing the club will be at every one of those
Yeah.
meetings. Whether it's Steve or one of us or.
Because I'd like to do one meeting and hammer this stuff out and move on and bring it to a select board meeting.
Mhm.
And if you guys weren't gonna be able to make it, we can do the Ellsworth Hill stuff,
Mhm.
which that's not that is snowmobile trail.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So that'll be a different meeting as well. So if you can be at this one, we'll try to hammer it out the Saunders Hill stuff and then
And
work on the Ellsworth one after.
And I also, I wasn't able to attend last meeting, but I did watch the video, and I think Paul he's got an idea in his mind that he said that, hopefully he has a proposal that will, be satisfactory to all parties involved, is what I understood, so.
I talked to some of the landowners up there, and I think if you guys communicate with them and just address some of their personal
Yeah,
issues
they
with
gotta
roads
come
and
part
stuff,
of the decision.
they,
Yeah.
so far, they've been not highly represented.
Sure.
It's just been used as class 6, and people in town, with wheeled vehicles and just in general, just use it, and they have no say whatsoever about their own property.
Right.
And it costs them money, and the town timber tax money, so that's all we're trying to do is make sure that they're not getting railroaded, and that they're taking it into consideration as much as recreation in the town.
And we support that too. You know, we've stated before that, you know, that kind of activity gives us a bad name. And we kind of, by virtue of that sport, get dragged into, you know, people running up there with Jeeps and ATVs and all of it. So, anything that we can do to support town in that, you know, end of it, we're committed to that, so.
One of the landowners up at the Queen Camp, who controls a good share of that section, is gonna reach out to you with some ideas, and then we can discuss it between the two. They all sound pretty reasonable, simple things that can address some of the issues. But you can see how those guys would get sick of the people that just use their own driveway.
Yeah.
And eventually they just wanna throw their hands up and say, screw it, because it's just not worth it.
Well,
So as long as we can take care of it.
you know, we hear it, you know, every time, you know, there's an unhappy landowner, you know, we get the call or whatever, and, you know, it really affects us, and we're pretty adamant that, you know, we're gonna do everything we can to, you know, work with the town and prevent that from happening.
Yeah, well, it's both the town and the landowners.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I agree.
It costs them a lot more money than it does us.
Yeah.
It can be $10,000 at a time when a road washes out in one storm.
In addition to the fact that you use the right of way, whether it's class 6 or otherwise, there is the element of noise. I'm quite a ways away from the Silver Bridge, not that far, but quite a ways. I can still hear them way down there. Doesn't bother me. But if I lived right next to the guardrail, I think it might bother me.
And those are illegal exhausts anyways that the state's outlawed, so that's people breaking the law, that they can't control that.
Yeah.
The club can't control that.
Well, we try very hard, if your neighbor, Mr. Green, if he calls, we're there. And, you know, so getting the information to the right guy, you call, we'll be there, if there's a problem.
Right, and we actually worked with Lime Pinnacle last year to, you know, there was a section of Mr. Green's property where the cross-country skiers use, and, you know, people were speeding in there. And, you know, we had people, volunteers go out there and sit and just, you know, stop people and, you know, explain that, you know, you gotta go slow through here, and, you know, so.
One of the drummers for this.
Okay. We'll see you at the meeting then.
Okay, good. Okay, that's it for public comments. Sure, okay. We're gonna, move to non-public session.
Thank you.
Can you answer the questions? I realize these are not public, but is this town-owned property you're gonna be talking about, or personal property you're gonna be talking about?
Is this first one here?
Either one of them.
I actually don't know.
I don't know.
The answer to either of those.